Welcome to part 2 where you learn how to draw a reindeer using black and white pen and ink. First step is to grab that Sharpie and start blocking in those antlers of yours. Remember to be careful around your light bulbs. Now we're going to start feathering in the fur on the inside of the ear with very gentle shorthand strokes in different directions to avoid ink from spilling or spreading across your paper, or to avoid pencil smudging. You can put a piece of paper underneath your hand. Continue this pattern around the outside of the ear and the head to give your reindeer a textured feel. Fill in that eye, leave some space for your highlight or shine within the eye if you choose to do so. You can get this darkest dark that I'm getting here by going back and forth tightly together so no white peeps through your paper. And you can do this over your original line as well to ensure that you have your blackest black for your eye. Repeat this process that you did on eye 1 to eye number 2 before moving forward. Right now it's time for us to start blocking in the top of the nose with a feathered curved line. Gently stroke your pen over your pencil line that you've already blocked in to help bolden this piece so the cheek and the nose can stand out. Let's make that nose or that muzzle area more pronounced. We're doing a front-on view of the face, so we're going to want to add a little bit of shadow underneath the chin to make that nose pop out. Let's make the curling line from the bottom of the chin as it goes up and around a little more defined by adding some more ink on top of our pencil layer. This will make your muzzle pop more and look like a three-dimensional piece. Let's continue scratching fur into the outside of the body as we go down the reindeer towards the hoof. Let's make that nose a little more defined by coloring in the bottom half of it so the top half of the nose is sticking out and collecting the highlight of our light source. Because no reindeer actually has a white top on their nose, we're going to add a little more shadow to the top of the nose and really define that highlight point or that shine where the light is hitting the tip of the nose. So let's kind of make a circular motion with our pen to emphasize the roundness of the tip of our nose, but we don't want it to be as dark as the bottom of the nose because the bottom of the nose is getting less light than the top. Let's repeat that fur-lined technique with the chest to help define it, to separate it from the other part of the reindeer's body using light, slightly diagonal strokes as we feather our way down the chest. It will bring the chest out for the viewer to see more. Let's end this process at the hoof and start coloring the hoof. Normally the hoof is a darker color than the body, so we're going to make this one of our darkest darks, just kind of like we did on the underside of the nose. Let's repeat this darkening process to the other hoof as well. Let's define the curvature of our outside hooves by darkening the edges of them. Let's just do the dark side on the inner curve of the hoof on both ends, like towards the inside of the reindeer's body, specifically to give it a three-dimensional shape. Repeat this process also with hoof number 2 as well. I'm a huge My Little Pony fan, and I like the idea of adding some sort of decorative piece to the bottom of the hoof. You may choose to do so. If you don't, that's fine as well. I really want my decorative piece to pop, so I'm going to add some shadow filler inside the hoof. Something that is a dark shade, but not as dark as that outside piece that we just blocked in a few minutes ago. Let's make our reindeer's body pop by adding some contact shadow underneath the body of the reindeer to make it appear as if it's actually sitting on something. Usually, if there is some sort of object on top of a table, you have kind of like a darker shadow between the table and between the object itself. We call that contact shadow. It helps things look more three-dimensional, and it helps things stick out and look more realistic. I like the idea of adding some doohickeys on the top of my reindeer's head to kind of give him some sort of hairdo or style with his fur. That's totally up to you. It's not necessarily mandatory. I just think it looks kind of cool. Since we're not coloring in marker today, let's add some texture to the fur by doing light feathered strokes throughout the body. Now think of how the body or the muscle tone moves around the skeletal structure. If your chest is pronounced or if your chest is pushing out and you're going to want to have like more curved lines near the chest area. If you're shadowing or shading or texturizing your legs, those are usually made out of straight up and down bones. So, especially if they're being viewed from the frontal perspective, like right now we're viewing our reindeer front on or head on, you're going to want the texturized lines to be up and down and less curved around your straighter or flatter planes. So just keep this in mind as you're moving around the body of the reindeer. Artists generally change or shift the movement of their value or their line strokes to emphasize how shadows moving around an object. And here it's the muscle moving around the bone. Repeat this process with your lights. Choose a side in which your light source is going to be coming from, and that side's actually going to be lighter. For my piece, I am choosing to have my light source come in from the right hand side in the top corner. Totally up to you where you choose. Just make sure that the opposite side that's furthest away from your light source is where your darker values or your darker colors are going to be. So just take a peek at what I'm doing here and see how I'm wrapping or curving my shadow line around the body of the light. I'm doing this because the body of the light is actually a three-dimensional piece. So in order to emphasize three-dimensional space, I am tricking the mind's eye with the way that I'm applying the line. Curved line will make things look like they're actually curved or less flat, and flat lines or up and down lines are more for like head on viewing. But here, because this is a rounded object, we're going to emphasize that roundness by using curved line. As you're doing this, it's always wise to start light with your pen, do light strokes, kind of feathered across the paper, and build your value or build your darkness as you go. It's easier to add darkness than it is to take away darkness when using pen. So just keep that in mind as you're working on this. Some of you may want to add tinsel from your reindeer's antlers. Others may want to add ornaments. I like the idea of the snowflake. I think adding like little snowflake chains or whatnot from the top of my antlers is super cute. So that is what I'm going to choose to do. but you get to choose what you would like to do to your reindeer. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. Okay, so now it's time to add some texture or some patterns to your box. You get to choose what you would like to do with your Christmas box. Totally up to you. You can even decide to add more boxes if you choose to do so. Just don't forget your contact shadow underneath your box, and work lightly and build your color or build your shadow. No need to go directly to the blackest black right away. It's easier to add than it is to take away. And that, my friend, is how you draw a reindeer sitting upon a Christmas present using pen and ink. Thank you so much for viewing this video and following along with the demonstration. For more tips and tricks, please don't forget to subscribe to Carly's Colorful Corner on YouTube. And follow us on Instagram or Facebook. If you prefer a more in person depth kind of lesson, take a peek at our OUTSCHOOL platform. We would be more than willing to help you learn how to draw. And in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you in the classroom.